Have you ever entered a role where your greatest competition was not another person, but a ghost? The leader before you was loved. The sibling before you was brilliant. The person your partner dated before you seemed unforgettable. You arrive with your own strengths, but everyone keeps looking backward. They compare your tone, your decisions, even the way you enter the room. So you try harder. You imitate what worked before. You hide every weakness. You polish yourself until no one can find a reason to doubt you. And that is when people begin resisting you. Not because you have failed, because your perfection feels like a performance, and your performance reminds them of what they lost. How do you establish authority without becoming arrogant, different without becoming threatening, and human without looking weak? I'm Sarah, and this is WiseMind Stories. In the 48 Laws of Power, 4 laws explore identity inside a social world. Law 34 tells us to carry ourselves with royal self-respect. Law 38 advises us to understand the customs around us even when we think differently. Law 41 warns against living in the shadow of a great predecessor. And Law 46 says that appearing too perfect can awaken envy. Together, they reveal a subtle truth. Standing out is not simply a matter of being impressive. It is a matter of giving people a way to understand the difference you represent. By the end of this episode, you will know how to enter a role shaped by comparison, how to create a distinct identity without insulting the culture around you, and why the right amount of visible humanity can strengthen authority. Let's begin with Samira. For 28 years, a man named Adrian Cole led a respected architecture studio called Cole and Rowe. Adrian was more than the founder. He was the mythology of the company. He sketched ideas on yellow paper. He remembered the name of every employee's partner. On Friday afternoons, he walked through the studio carrying coffee and stopped at each desk to ask one question. What are we trying to make people feel? Employees quoted him in presentations. Clients asked for him by name. When Adrian announced his retirement, the board selected Samira Khan as the new creative director. Samira was 40, exceptionally talented, and already responsible for several of the studio's strongest projects. She had spent 11 years at Cole and Rowe. She understood the work. She underestimated the grief. On her first day as director, Samira sat in Adrian's old office. She used the yellow paper. That Friday, she carried coffee through the studio and asked his famous question. People smiled politely. Samira interpreted their discomfort as uncertainty about her leadership. So she increased the performance. She arrived before everyone. She left after everyone. She spoke with absolute certainty in meetings. When she did not know an answer, she redirected the conversation before anyone noticed. Adrian had been informal, so Samira became informal. Adrian had reviewed every major design, so Samira reviewed every major design. Adrian told long stories at client dinners, so Samira began telling stories too. But imitation made every difference more visible. When Adrian interrupted a meeting, people remembered his instinct. When Samira interrupted, they called her controlling. When Adrian changed a sketch, it felt like the founder protecting his vision. When Samira changed one, it felt like the new director proving she had authority. 3 months into the role, the studio competed for a public museum project. Samira developed a bold design based on movement and natural light. It was intelligent, original, and unlike Adrian's work. Then she became afraid. Would the board think she was abandoning the studio's identity? She revised the design until it looked more like something Adrian might have created. The team noticed. A young architect named Lucas asked why the strongest element had disappeared. It did not fit the Cole and Rowe language, Samira said. Lucas hesitated. Whose language are we trying to speak now? The question landed harder than he intended. Samira ended the meeting early. Cole and Rowe lost the project. The client's feedback was painful. The proposal was technically excellent but lacked a clear point of view. Samira had spent months trying not to look unworthy of Adrian's position. In the process, she had made herself indistinct. Then something smaller caused the real crisis. During a client review, Samira confidently described a material as locally sourced. A project architect quietly sent her a note. The supplier had changed, and the statement was no longer true. Samira saw the message. She kept speaking. After the meeting, she told the architect they would correct it in the written summary. He asked why she had not corrected it immediately. Because the client needs confidence, Samira said. The architect replied, they need accuracy too. Within days, the story circulated through the studio. Samira had made a minor factual mistake. Her attempt to appear flawless turned it into a question of character. Perfection is dangerous because people do not experience it as neutral. It can make them feel judged, excluded, or suspicious. If someone never hesitates, never apologizes, and never appears to struggle, other people begin searching for the hidden cost of the image. That is the insight inside Law 46. Visible excellence can inspire. Performed perfection often provokes investigation. The board chair, Evelyn, asked Samira to meet. Samira expected a warning. Instead, Evelyn asked, why are you trying to become Adrian? I'm protecting what he built. No, Evelyn said. You are protecting yourself from being compared with him. Those are different things. Law 41 warns us not to step directly into a great person's shoes. The larger the predecessor, the more every imitation becomes evidence that the original was stronger. You cannot defeat a memory on the memory's chosen field. A beloved founder is remembered through highlights. Their mistakes fade. Their contradictions become charm. Their ordinary days disappear. The successor competes with an edited version of a human being. That contest cannot be won. Samira needed a different role, not a better imitation. But creating a new identity did not mean insulting the old one. This is where Law 38 matters. Think as you like, but understand how people around you live. The law can sound like a demand for conformity. At its worst, it can pressure people to hide culture, conviction, or identity. In order to make the majority comfortable, that is not healthy power. Social intelligence is not self-erasure. It is learning the language through which change can be heard. Every group has rituals that carry meaning beyond their visible function. The Friday coffee was not about coffee. It represented Adrian's accessibility. The yellow paper was not about paper. It represented a history of ideas becoming real. If Samira rejected every ritual, people would experience her difference as contempt. If she copied every ritual, they would experience it as imitation. She needed to preserve the need while changing the form. The following Friday, Samira gathered the studio. She did not deliver a polished speech. She began with the material mistake. I knew the statement might be wrong, she said, and I chose the appearance of confidence over an immediate correction. That was not leadership. I'm correcting it with the client, and I owe this team a better standard. The room became very quiet. Then she addressed the larger issue. I am not Adrian. I cannot preserve this studio by pretending to be him, but I also do not want change to become a performance of rejecting everything that came before me. Samira kept the Friday ritual, but changed it. Instead of walking alone from desk to desk, she invited rotating teams to present one unfinished idea and one unanswered question. Coffee remained. The famous sentence did not. She returned to the museum design that the studio had lost and showed the original concept beside the revised one. "This," she said, pointing to the first version, "is the direction I was afraid to defend." For the first time since taking the role, Samira looked uncertain without looking lost. That is the paradox of Law 34. Act like royalty. Royal bearing does not require superiority. At its best, it means refusing to ask the room for permission to possess your own place. People often decide how to value us by watching the standard of treatment we accept from ourselves. If you constantly apologize for speaking, underprice your work, laugh before stating an opinion, or behave as if your presence needs justification, you teach others to experience you as temporary. Self-respect is not volume. It is the absence of self-abandonment. After the meeting, Samira stopped using Adrian's office. She moved into a smaller room beside the project teams and converted the old office into a shared client workshop. The choice was symbolic. She was not shrinking. She was refusing to occupy authority as inherited furniture. Over the next year, the studio's work changed. Samira introduced more public research and younger project leads. She kept several of Adrian's values, but no longer treated his habits as sacred. Some employees left. Not every person wanted the new studio. That was painful, but honest. Leadership does not mean creating a future that no one finds unfamiliar. It means making the unfamiliar coherent enough that people can choose whether to enter it. This problem appears anywhere comparison controls identity. A child grows up after a high-achieving sibling and either copies them or rejects everything they represent. Both choices allow the sibling to remain the center. A new manager inherits a popular team and changes every process to demonstrate authority. The team experiences the changes as an attack on its shared history. A creator succeeds with one style and becomes trapped by an audience that wants the same work forever. In each case, power requires differentiation without contempt. There is another reason visible imperfection matters. People can admire excellence when they can imagine a path toward it. When excellence appears effortless, complete, and permanent, admiration can turn into distance. The colleague who shares only victories may make everyone else feel uniquely confused. The leader who never admits revising a decision makes thoughtful change look like weakness. The creator who hides every failed draft teaches the audience that talent arrives finished. Then envy begins filling the missing story. If people cannot see effort, assistance, luck, or uncertainty, they often explain success through arrogance, favoritism, or unfair advantage. Some of those explanations may be wrong, but the perfect image gives them nowhere else to place ordinary human struggle. This does not mean performing weakness to make other people comfortable. False humility is another form of self-obsession. Repeatedly denying your ability forces everyone around you to reassure you. The stronger position is accurate ownership. I did this well. I needed help here. This part failed. This is what I learned. Samira became more authoritative when she no longer needed every fact to support the image of an unquestionable leader. Her correction showed the team that truth ranked above performance. Her original design showed that respect for Adrian did not require artistic obedience. The goal is not to make yourself smaller than others. It is to stop using perfection as a wall that makes genuine relationship impossible. People do not need access to every private fear, but if they can never see you learn, they may obey your image without ever trusting the person behind it. And trust matters most when the room becomes uncertain. In easy moments, a flawless image can look impressive. During a crisis, people follow the leader who can acknowledge reality, absorb correction, and move without pretending that every answer existed from the beginning. How can you do that? Use a 4-part tool called RISE. R. Read the culture. Before changing a room, learn which rituals, phrases, and habits carry emotional meaning. Ask what need they serve. Do not confuse an outdated form with a worthless value. You can honor belonging without surrendering judgment. I. Invent your own lane. Do not compete with a predecessor on the quality most associated with them. Name the problem your experience prepares you to solve differently. The goal is not to prove you are a better version of someone else. It is to become the first clear version of yourself. S. Signal self-respect. Speak without unnecessary apology. Define standards. Make decisions at the level of the role you want to occupy. Do not demand royal treatment while accepting private contempt from yourself. Confidence becomes credible when behavior supports it. E. Expose enough humanity. Correct mistakes. Share appropriate uncertainty. Give other people room to contribute something you genuinely need. Vulnerability should not become emotional unloading, but authority that cannot survive one visible imperfection is not authority. It is a costume. Now ask yourself, whose shadow are you still trying to escape by imitating them? What part of your culture deserves respect, even if its current form needs to change? Where are you performing perfection because you are afraid one mistake will confirm every doubt? And when you enter a room, do you behave as if your place belongs to you, or as if someone may ask you to return it? You do not stand out by forcing everyone to look at you. You stand out by becoming difficult to confuse with anyone else. Difference without social awareness becomes provocation. Social awareness without difference becomes disappearance. The art is to carry both. In the next episode, we will enter open conflict. Why does defending yourself against every attack often strengthen the attacker? When is surrender more strategic than resistance? And what does it actually mean to end a conflict instead of winning one round? Episode 8 is called Win Without Losing Yourself.